Yes, you can make six figures in 30 hours a week or less on a part-time schedule. Is it easy? No. Do you need some ramp up time? Yes. So I don't want to make sure I want to make sure that I'm not saying that you're going to make six figures right out of the gate and that immediately you're going to cut down your hours. It's not how it works. But there are a few really specific principles that you need to know as a freelance writer in order to make six figures in the first place and then work on cutting your hours down. So we're going to go through a few really key things that as we're going, like I did this before, but I did it with 40 hours because I had a question of like, how do you do it without working like 1,000 hours a week? But now I think I'm going to update it to 30 hours a week just because I think in 5 hours ish, right? Like let's say 6 hours a day, that's definitely doable. And I think it's also something that over time, the further you get into your schedule, the more you know your clients, the more you understand the types of work that make sense for growing to this level, it's a lot easier to cut it down to 6 hours a day instead of working 8, right? 2 hours a day, we can do that. So let's talk about number one. So number one thing, right? How do we actually do that? How do we ramp up our business to six figures? So when we're doing that, there's a couple different things. And the number one thing that I always think about is like, you need to know your ideal client. You need to know like what niches they're in, how much revenue they make, what types of projects, high flower power, what types of projects they do. You need to understand how those things fit into your schedule and then how you would scale those. So we're not trying to scale to six figures doing like 10,000 blog posts, okay? Yes, you totally can do it. You totally can do it. You can do a ton of articles. You can do a lot of repetitive work to get to six figures. But then scaling back, the problem becomes that you reached, yeah, you reached six figures based on volume work. Okay. We're not trying to do that to get down to 30 hours a week, right? If we're trying to cut time out of our schedule, we can't be working on volume work, which is blog posts where you need to do a lot of them. We need to be working strategically on bigger projects like case studies or white papers or landing pages, sales pages, or email drip campaigns, content strategy, brand messaging, or messaging and positioning. Or if you want to do marketing strategy, we can throw that in there too. Brand identity. You need to be combining these longer term, bigger buck projects or these multi-month projects, and then your hours go down because you're making enough money, right, from these bigger projects that you don't have to work as many hours, right? Your back end, hey Nina, hey Vicky, I always love the wave. I wish I could put emojis in there. Oh, I wish it would let me do that. Maybe I can copy yours. No, I can't copy it. Ugh. Anyways, so we want to make sure that we're understanding that like your back end rate becomes higher. So this is the type of thing where like if you were doing a project, let's say you charged, $3,000 for it and it took you whatever that is 6 hours. Let's say overall it took you 6 hours to do it, right? You're getting $500 an hour. Is that right? Yeah. You're getting $500 an hour, which if you went to your client and said it was $500 an hour, they'd be like, no, we're not doing that. But the back end rate gets a lot higher. So that's what we're shooting for. When we're scaling to six figures, you're at a point in your business where you've already done this stuff. And a lot of times when I'm talking to, hi, Marie, in all caps, a lot of times when I'm talking to my students, my Wealth Lab students and my Runway students, I often talk about you're getting to this point where you're tired of blog posts, you're tired of repetitive work. That's when you're kind of getting to a better precipice of six figures, right? You're probably making somewhere between 60 and 80-ish K a year. um, hold on. You're probably making between 60 to 80K a year. And that's kind of you're kind of like tired of the blog post thing. I actually did a video on this that you can check out that's telling you not to write blog posts anymore. So you're getting to a point, maybe you've been freelancing for 2 to 3 years, maybe 5 years, maybe longer, but you're at a point where you're like, I'm tired of doing this constant churn and burn type of schedule. So as you're scaling to six figures, you need to keep your eye out. What other types of projects are my clients creating? Like if I go to a website, right, I'm going to all these potential clients' websites so that I can send them LOIs. What other things have I noticed? It's not just blog posts, it's also downloadable guides, or it's, like I said, case studies, white papers. It is any type of downloadable, I guess. Like they're trying to build subscribers, so they're trying to give free stuff to subscribers. They have a bunch of neighborhood guides or big chunky documents. They have reports that they put out. They are putting out emails, right? They're doing drip campaigns, or they're creating a bunch of landing pages or sales pages, or they're an earlier stage company who isn't really creating a ton of content and might actually need help with brand messaging, content strategy, or messaging and positioning. They might also need help with brand identity. Yeah, it does have the goodies. So Nina says, is there an online content marketing, content strategy course you recommend? I mean, obviously, I always talk about the Wealth Lab where we go through this. I talk you through. The Wealth Lab is in session right now, so the Wealth Lab doesn't open up until April 2023. If you want to sign up for the wait list, you go to mandyellis.com/course, where I can never find it in here. Anyways, if you go to mandyellis.com/course, I guess I can change this one. Hold on. There we go. Here we go. Okay, if you go to mandyellis.com/course, you can sign up for the wait list. It opens in April 2024. I'm actually re-recording the course. I'm going to update it a whole bunch for the new year, which I haven't done in quite some time. I've added a lot of stuff, but I really need to reconfigure it and re-record and add some juicy tidbits that I always talk to students about. So if you want to join the wait list, you can go to mandyellis.com/course. So we go over content marketing projects. We go over content strategy. But for me, if you want to take something that is thorough, HubSpot is really good for learning content marketing. So HubSpot, I used to have a HubSpot content marketing certification, but content marketing, their course in HubSpot, it's free. And it is extremely thorough. And yes, you can take the certification test if you so choose. So that one, Adrienne Smith. So ADRIENNE Smith. She has a free email course on content strategy. 100,000% recommend that. She's amazing. And then when you buy the templates, get the ultimate pack. It's $300. It should be like $10,000 more dollars. It is totally worth it. It'll show you, the email course shows you exactly what to do for content strategy, how to do the work. And then the template pack gives you the templates to actually do the work for your clients, so you see how it applies. So yes, content marketing, I always like to recommend HubSpot because I feel like it's super thorough. And you can get certified if you really feel like there's like this hair. You can get certified if you really feel like that's necessary. Or if you feel like for some reason your clients want that. And then content strategy, Adrienne Smith, ADRIENNE Smith. She has a free email course that takes place over, I think, 5 or 7 days. I forget, but that's free. And then buy her ultimate content strategy pack. Okay. So when we're looking at our clients' websites, we're looking for these bigger projects, right? They're doing bigger things. They have more stuff. These bigger things then lead to you getting bigger projects, right? Which take less time. That's what we're looking for. So to do a white paper, you might have that white paper that you do over a month or 3 months, but it doesn't take all of your hours every single week for those 3 months. Content strategy is the same. I could get a content strategy project done in a month where it would probably take all of my time for 3-ish weeks and then part of my time for the last week. Maybe 4 weeks, it depends. But a lot of times you're waiting for calls, you're waiting for reviews, you're looking for feedback. You need to talk to your client, and that usually stretches out to 3 months because there's a lot of back and forth, and there's a lot of different deliverables that you have to give them. So we're looking for things that stretch out to longer periods of time. If they pay more and they stretch over long periods of time, now your back end rate goes up, right? Because if it's a high paying project that you're doing over a longer period of time and it's not taking up all of your hours, right? Now our back end hourly rate goes up. So I want to make sure that you're looking at these things. Like, what are they looking at? Those companies that need help with brand messaging, content strategy, brand identity, messaging and positioning, those types of really chunky projects that could be $10,000 to $30,000. I've combined packages before for like $50K because it was like so many things they needed help with. But at the minimum, it's like, it could be $5K, $10K, depending on deliverables. That really helps, right? It's a longer term project and it doesn't take all your time. So it's not that you're spending $10,000 in 1 month. You're getting paid a lot to do very strategic, important work, right? And that really helps those early stage companies, those Series A, Series B, Series C companies get started on the right foot. And for me, I usually give them content strategy that can last a year. They should probably check, they're checking on it, right? They're making sure it's working. They're looking in Google Analytics. They're looking at their subscriber rates. They are tracking how it's working. They should probably, look at updating it or refreshing in 6 months, but it can last a year, right? So if they're going to pay me X amount of dollars for something that lasts them a year and helps me on the back end, right? That's good for everybody. So those are early stage companies. Those kind of mid-sized companies, those companies that are more established, they might have a bunch more employees, like they have more than 100 employees. They might have 1,000 employees or more. They're going to be looking for like repeated stuff, like more case studies, more white papers. They're looking for longer form articles. Like instead of maybe you write 2,000 word articles, and instead of writing like a bunch of 800 word blog posts, now you're writing 2,000 word blog posts. So we're kind of looking how we can balance the scales. Instead of writing 4 of one thing, we can write 2 of another thing and actually get paid more to write 2 of those things. And like I said, we need to look at these swaps. This is how you get your time back, because you're making more money doing this more complicated or longer stuff versus repetitive. Oh my gosh, I got to get on the train and do this all the blah. It's just too much. So when we're looking at this, we are ramping up our business by being really selective about who's our clients, what projects do they need help with, keeping track of that. And then we're using that to ramp up to 6 figures to kind of slough off the clients who are repetitive or who are doing smaller projects. And we are doing this as a replacement thing, right? So like the diagram that I always give my Wealth Lab students and sometimes my Runway students is this, right? So you're at this place where you're like, okay, cool, I have some clients. And then you're like, oh, new big client. Now we have a sloughing off period, right? And then we're like, okay, new big client. And then we have a sloughing off period. The sloughing off period means I'm getting rid of like my small baby clients here. And then I'm getting rid of my small baby clients here. And over time, the baby client might be $200 and then it's $500. Or it could be something like your baby client is like $1,000 and then your baby client over here is like $4,000 or something. But these should be your smallest things that you're like, I don't want to do that anymore. So we're making smart swaps as we go along, and we're getting these new clients by sending LOIs and then being strategic about looking at who's my ideal client, right? What types of projects are they doing? And really, if we have work, then we don't have to take all of our clients, right? Everybody who answers an LOI may not be the client for us. So we want to make sure that we're paying attention to, as we have this ongoing work, right? We have ongoing work, we have money coming in. We get to be really picky in particular about who our new clients are, right? So being picky in particular, right, that ends up being the way we get to 6 figures, because we're making these swaps. We have money coming in. As we make swaps, we're making more money. We are being smart about who we swap out. We're being smart about who we swap in. And that kind of gives you this stair stepping up, right? So then you end up getting this kind of situation. And this situation, and I want to be, I want to be transparent about this. It could take you months. It could take you 6 months to do this. So you start here, and then you're making the smart swaps to get to this kind of monthly income. Then you're making more smart swaps. So you get through here, you're getting your time back, right? You're getting your time back. So you're making these smart swaps, and this could take 6, but 6 months is probably a little bit short, but probably a year. Over a year, you can probably do this, then the next year, then the next. So this is something that you might take over time. So like, I think for me, most of the time I've seen people actually hit 6 figures where it's sustainable and it's not burnout related, and it's not something where they're like writing 10,000 blog posts. It can take from zero, like if you're starting from zero, it can take like 4 to 5 years, sometimes 3, but usually 4 to 5 years. So if you're a brand new freelancer, 4 to 5 years out, you can make 6 figures. That's just like a benchmark just to think about. But this video is really for people who are more advanced, who are already like 60 to 80K. You got to do this. You got to do this process where you're getting your time back. You're not only increasing, like this is your monthly income, right? You're not only increasing your monthly income, you're making smart swaps, you're picking better projects. And because you already have ongoing work and money, every new client you get to pick is like a very special new client who has whatever you want, right? So then that helps you increase your income. That's why if we already have money coming in, right? We already have that 60 to 80K. We need to be sending a lot of LOIs to make sure we get to be picky. We're not just waiting for people to reach out to us, which we will get inbound leads. But we want to make sure that we we want to make sure that we are paying attention to the strategic elements of growing our business that then give us our time back. So that's the idea I think a lot of times gets missed. A lot of people are like, here's how to get to 30 hours. No, you should be working backwards how to cut down to 30 hours. So a lot of times I think what gets missed is that there's this like, okay, you should spend 4 hours on a case study and you should spend this amount of time on this and you should be do blah, 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 blah. Right. So the advice that I saw when I was coming up was very much time based on your speed, right? Which I'm slow. Like I've never been fast, right? And I always give the example when I started out, it took me a whole month to write my first reported article. And now I can write like 20 in a month, which I don't want to do, but I could do it. But that's something where like speed, right? You increase over time, but speed is not the thing that should be making you more money. Value, expertise, knowledge, the type of project that you're doing that really builds a big content foundation for a business, that's what you should be getting paid on. So anytime you hear advice where someone's like, it should only take you blah, blah, blah time, and then you can make 6 figures. That's backwards. I'm telling you, like, I know, I get it. I get it. For some people that might work. For me, it never worked. So what your goal is to cut your time down to 30 hours in a strategic way where you are replacing projects, you're getting to bigger projects, and you're understanding which types of clients need these big, juicy projects. Then your back end rate increases, your time goes down, and you can work 30 hours a week, right? 6 hours a day, right? 6 times 5, yeah, 30 hours a week, 6 days or 6 hours a day to get your work done. Or you can work 5 out, you can kind of slice and dice whatever you like to do. But I feel like that is smarter. It's smarter to amass what you need to pay your bills and amass things so that you're like, okay, this is what I've got, and then cut it down. You're starting to make smart swaps to cut things down, right? That's why when people do crash diets, like they're like, I'm going on a juice cleanse. And then it's like they gain back more weight than before, right? Because the juice cleanse is exactly that. People are like, oh, I'm just cutting these things, like, oh, I'm just starting at 30 hours and just starting there. No, you have to cut down in increments so that you maintain it, so that it makes sense, so that it's something where you're getting either referrals from more clients or you're understanding who your client is so you can send more LOIs or you have longer term projects, right? Marie says, teaching me to be, so Marie has taken the Wealth Lab. She's a Wealth Lab student and she's taken Runway. And she got to take Runway for free because she's in the Wealth Lab. So you teaching me to be choosy about clients was vital. It was one of the most important things I learned and learning how to spot them. Yeah. So we go over a lot of green light client attributes. Green flag, green light. I just like green light. It makes more sense to my brain. It's like, I always think of it as like an Indy 500. I don't know why, but green light makes more sense to my brain. So yeah, the being picky about clients is really about the times when you're busy about sending those LOIs. And I don't care. You can send 5 a month. You got to send something, but at least you get to be picky about stuff coming in and then you get to slough them off and start clients out. I think a lot of times writers just get too focused working in their business, right? They get too focused working in their business versus on their business. And then they're like, I don't have any time. You do have time. I don't care if it's 5. Send some LOIs. Make some time. And like I said, or not like I said, but I wanted to make sure I tell you that I'm constantly adding people to my list. I may not send my LOIs all the time. I usually send them quarterly, but sometimes I would say there's probably 500 to 600 LOIs that I send on the year. It's probably a little bit more. I don't know, but I'm sending them quarterly. And I'm also sending them whenever I see a really good client. I'm like, oh, this is a great fit. Boom. I send them an LOI. So learning how to spot those clients, you can immediately add them to your list. So it's like this ongoing thing. Every day in your inbox, you have all these lists or you have different types of press releases or stuff coming in where you can filter it out, right? This is a process that I go through really in depth with both my Runway and my Wealth Lab students about how to filter that out, how to get those things in your inbox. And then you get to be picky about clients and onboard them. Yeah, the other thing too is we could use them as a referral, right? So like that way, if we're going to slough off a client and they're a really good client, don't slough off your bad clients to other writers. But if you have a good client where you're just like, they're just not a good client for me anymore. Yes, I love referring that to other writers. I love saying like, hey, I have this client who's paying me $2,000 a month. It's not fitting in my schedule or it's not fitting with my business goals. I think you're a good fit. Do you want me to connect you to? And that way they have ongoing work or they have a great client as well. So it's a good win-win for everybody. Okay. Vicky says, what's the lead time before starting a new strategy client so you can give enough notice to your small beans client? Your content strategy client you can do with your regular clients. So it's I always give as much lead time as possible, but your content strategy shouldn't be all the time. Like really, if you're starting content strategy, brand messaging, brand identity, messaging and positioning, brand messaging, whatever, those things should be 3 months. The first time you do it over 3 months so that you will submit a timeline. So this is something that's in Adrian Smith's templates is you have a timeline that you'll submit. Do it over 3 months because you don't want to do content strategy fast the first time you do it. It's too much. Don't do that. So I wouldn't say lead time before a strategy client. I would more think about it as like you're adding the strategy client. That's why I say like if I had to, I could get it done in a month. But usually you want it over 3 months because your client is slow or your client, it takes a while to review things or it takes them a while to schedule a meeting. And that gives you time to do other things. So I wouldn't just abort all your clients just because you get a content strategy project. I wouldn't do that. I would massage everybody in. Now, if there is a client that you were thinking about cutting, like 1 or 2 clients where you're like, oh, thank God I got this content strategy project. Now I can let them go. I give them as much time as possible. Hey, I know we have these 3 more deliverables. I wanted to let you know that I need to end our contract. You can either, if it's a good client, like I said, offload, hey, I need to end our contract, but I have another writer who I think would be a fit for you. You need to finish your deliverables with them. You don't just leave them in the lurch. Finish your deliverables with that client. If you can offload that client to someone who would really love to have that client and the client is a great client, please do so. And then you will have more space to put in other clients. But really, it's like as much time as possible. Finish your deliverables. You have an out in your contract, right? You always have a contract that says like I'm giving 15 days notice to end this contract. So I would, like I said, I would give it a 3-month period to get it done. Okay, so Nina says, I had a potential client say that there was a specific weekly time limit for a huge amount of work. It was really a full-time gig and was only paying for part-time. Yeah, those are not the clients that are going to scale to 6 figures. Those are clients who are trying to treat you like an employee, right? Like exactly what you said. They're trying to treat you like an employee, but they want it to be a contract so they don't have to pay for other stuff. There's very clearly clients who understand freelance and some who are like, how do I get away with like a freelancer? That's not it. Those clients are not the ones that you scale to 6 figures with. Okay, let me make sure. If this has been helpful, give it a thumbs up. If you want to learn more about building a business you adore where you're fully booked, subscribe. Okie dokie. So when you're ramping up to your business to 6 figures, do smart swaps, pay attention to your ideal clients, pay attention to the projects that are useful. Uh-oh, we've got a guest. Come on in, guest. Can you get over there? Oh, hi, princess. Pay attention to the projects, do smart swaps, right? Okay, let's go to number 2. Actually, let's do a pup date because she's here. All right, Charles, you go in your little pup date area. Charles has been, we have a new, I know that last week we had a foster puppy. We have a new one now. So, hi, princess. Are you tired? I know. Oh, watch out for that piece of paper. It's going to bite you. It's going to bite you. All right. Let's go in your hobbit hole. Or, can you go to your hobbit hole? Thank you. Good girl. Can you go lay down in your hobbit hole? Good job. So we have a new foster puppy now who's running Charlotte ragged, making her tired, making her work for it, making her run around a lot. But the new foster puppy and Charlotte are getting along so well. They're little party buddies, and they're just, can you sit? Good girl. Can you give everybody? Yeah, good girl. Good job. They're little party buddies. This new foster puppy is way bigger. Our last one was really small. This new foster puppy, I don't exactly know how much she weighs, but she basically looks like a pitty Great Dane mix, and she's about, I don't know. She's definitely way taller than Charlie is, and I smell it. Yes. And she likes to run a lot. So we have a new foster puppy. She's downstairs. Charlie's here to make sure that we have our little pup dates. How you doing? You having a good day today? Yeah? You want to give everybody a high five? She's a good girl. Okay, let's talk about 2. All right, number 2 here. So when we're doing this, right, these are the things that we're doing to cut down hours. That's how you should think about it, is like you are amassing a bunch of stuff and then you are using the data from your business to cut it down to the right clients so that you can get to 30 hours a week, right? Okay. So when we're doing these things, I want you to make sure you think about how your client load is not stretched out, but like organized over your calendar. So I think one of the things that really helps when you're hitting six figures is that you are very organized with your calendar and your scheduling and your deadlines and your calls. There we go. So we're not having 800 calls with all the clients. We're only having calls with people who are the right clients. We're making sure that we have our deadlines organized so that we can get through things while managing other stuff, right? So we have our deadlines, we're working on that, but we're also sending our LOIs. We are understanding our limits. So for me, that took me burning out a couple times. You guys know the story of me burning out in 2018, where I really was like going to quit freelancing, and I was just like, I'm gonna work at Dairy Queen. I don't know why I said that. I don't know. I just said it. And that really changed my business. That whole like poop soup situation, it changed my business to get me where I am now. So when you're looking at that, you need to look at your projects. You need to look at like what's going on. We don't want to burn out. This is not about adding so much to our schedule to hit six figures, which was what I thought it was. When I was first kind of figuring my shit out, I was like, oh, you just do more. So like I would calculate like I need to write 30 articles a month to hit six figures or whatever it was, which is so stupid. I don't want to do that. That's not even what I want to do, right? So you really need to be particular about what's in your schedule. How am I organizing my deadlines? Am I giving myself enough space to get it done? Am I just agreeing to 48-hour turnaround, or am I agreeing to like 5-day turnaround or something crazy? You need to kind of think of it as like your like this rolling idea. So we're going to get the whiteboard out again. Let me show you. So you should be thinking about your deadlines and your projects and your client load as this rolling idea. So just, I know this isn't exactly like the right number of days, but just bear with me. Oops. Okay. So if like we've been over this, I think in another way, but if you have a deadline here and a deadline here, that means your new client work is here, right? Your new clients don't get priority. I know the handwriting is terrible. Maybe I should fix it. Hold on. That means your new clients are next month. This is like a smart thing that happens, right? So if I have a deadline here and here and I'm already booked, this month is already booked. This thing is, let's say it's something I've been working on, and this is like the time where I need to kind of sharpen it up. And then this is a reported article where I need to do interviews here and everything's overlapping, whatever it is. Your new clients don't get priority. Your current clients get priority. New clients get to be slotted in next month. So that means once these are gone, right? I wish this guy had like a little eraser, but essentially this, right? Let's say these guys are gone. Now we're in the next month, right? So this is our next month. We know that we had a deadline down here. These guys are on a 2-week thing. So their deadline can only be here, right? We need a 2-week period to add them into our deadline schedule, to make sure the contract is signed, to make sure we have our upfront payment, to make sure everything's taken care of, so that you're not submitting work here and you haven't been paid and you're just like, oh, the deadline's coming, I just have to turn it in. Don't turn it in. So everybody, right, we have these 2 previous deadlines. That means your new clients should be on a 2 to 3 to 4 week bubble schedule, which means they're slotted in after that. So if you have schedule space, feel free to slot them in 2 weeks after your initial deadline, after you iron everything out. But most of the time, you should be at the space where it's a month out. You're like, my next available deadline is a month from now, right? It's over here, right? So we had our last deadline here. My next available deadline is here. That helps you organize your calendar without you rushing around, without you doing stuff. And it also opens you up to do other things like working on your business, to check your analytics, right? Basically check what are my clients doing, what money is coming in, what invoices are paid, are there any new client attributes that I can write down that I've noticed, any new types of projects. This is a big mistake. A lot of writers tell me, and this is something that this usually isn't a problem for 60 to 80K, but It happens every once in a while. If you've been making about 60 to 80K and you come in telling me that you're just like, I just accept everything. No. The other thing too is that you think that like there's no other clients, that by saying no to this client or the new client has to wait, that waiting period is evaporated by contract negotiations or problems with legal, or you're trying to suss things out, or you're trying to get paid. That's absorbed in that whole time anyways. So there's always more clients out there. There's always more stuff. And I know that there are times where we do need to take the work for the money. Do it. If you need money to put kibbles in the bowls, hi Goob, do it. But the idea here is that we are scheduling everybody out. You're looking at your deadlines, you're understanding your client load, you're seeing where things balance out, and you're not just putting things in, right? Your schedule, in order to get to 30 hours, has to be this way. You can't just like keep adding people in at random every couple weeks and stay at 30 hours. It just doesn't work like that. You need space in your schedule, and you have to create that. You have to create that with your deadlines. You have to create that with your clients. And I can't tell you how many times I've told a potential client, like, no, I can't take that deadline, or I can't start a new project until X date, whatever that is. If I'm like, it's not open until 3 months from now or 1 month from now, they're like, okay. And then they wait. They just don't do anything. And it's weird. It's a weird thing because we're like, no one will wait. But usually that happens because we've been working with red light clients. We've been working with red flag, red light clients who just are like, I need it now, do it now. Those are not the clients you scale to 6 figures with. You're looking for clients who are like, we need a strategic plan, or we're looking for you to help us with client for our content for our strategic plan, right? So we want to make sure, Nina says she'd love a short course on scheduling. Nina, we went over scheduling in Runway. Like, we went over a bunch of things about scheduling stuff in Runway, and we go over a lot of this scheduling stuff in the Wealth Lab. So we go through a lot of these things about how to actually do it in the Wealth Lab. And usually, I mean, the course on scheduling is like, you need to figure out a deadline schedule that works for you. There's really no course material there. It's about like understanding your deadlines and then figuring out how that works for you. So for me, I know that I need X amount of time to do stuff. I know I need a month to do a case study. I know I need about 2 weeks to slot in a blog post to my current schedule. I know I need 1 to 3 months for content strategy. So your scheduling piece is knowing how much time it takes to do stuff, putting your deadlines in, and then respecting your own schedule, right? And then putting in clients after that, and being connected with clients who like get it, who are like, yes, of course you have other work, right? So it's not really even like a course on, it's not even, there's really nothing to put in there. The scheduling is like that you need to know how you work, when you work, what makes sense for you. And then everybody else who's not on your client roster, I always tell this to my Wealth Lab students, which is like, if they haven't paid you any money, they can be on your radar. They can orbit, but they don't get to take up brain space. Like, they orbit around your head, but they don't actually get to live in your brain. If they haven't given you any money, move on with your life. They can come back later. You can follow up with them, whatever. But that's it. Flower Power says, scheduling 50 hours of projects cannot get done in a 30-hour week. The amount of times I need to relearn this. Yeah, like, that's the thing, is a lot of times people use this idea, right? They use this idea to be like, well, how much can I put in my schedule, right? How do I just blah, blah, blah? You can't cut that down. You can't cut it down if you're constantly adding stuff really quickly into your schedule. Like, you should be booking and thinking about what am I doing this month? What can I put in next month? What's in the month 3? Booking 6 months out depends on the types of projects. So like, if you had 2 content strategy projects, you could bookend them, right? You could put them in there back to back, and that would be 6 months. But yeah, like, you can't be in this constant state of adding different projects and pushing things in your schedule, and being in this place where you're like, oh, I have work for the month, I'm fine. No, you need to be thinking about the future months. Like, I need to book ahead. Like, that's something that I think a lot of freelance writers make the mistake of, is they're very focused right now. I have to have stuff right now. Like, no, you should be working on your business, right? You need to be making sure that you're putting your LOIs out. You need to be making sure that you are strategically planning your projects, that you're giving yourself time, right? That you're making sure that you're putting things in place based on how you work. For me, I have 10,000 reminders. So when I have a deadline, I have weekly, I have multiple reminders. like one that goes off like 2 or 3 weeks before, one that goes off 2 weeks before, or 8 or 10 days before, and then 7 days before, and 4 days before, and 3. Like I have 900 reminders telling me about that deadline. So the scheduling piece is understanding how all those things get put together, right? How long does it take me to do something, or how much brain space do I need? Like how much space in my schedule do I need to complete this? And then instead of doing these repetitive projects, right, we're doing these longer term projects that span, a month to 3 months or more, or you're on a retainer, which over time the retainer should take you less and less time because you're doing repetitive work, right? Then you can cut things down, right? You can't just try to like force 30 hours a week to happen by continuing to do the same thing. So you need to make sure you're paying attention to that client load, making sure you're scheduling according to the priority. Your current clients are the priority. Everybody else who's new can be on the next thing. There are more clients. If someone says, no, I need it now, they're not your client. This emergency kind of energy, right? Like there's a quote that says like, someone else's emergency does not make it your urgency. That actually works both ways. If your client is having an emergency, you don't need to create urgency over that. That's not your problem. But the same thing goes. If you're having an emergency where you're like, I need work, that doesn't force your clients to get into an emergency or to create urgency in getting that work done, right? Okay. So we need to kind of plan those things out. We need to look further ahead. We need to be planning these things and sending our LOIs and being picky about projects. And like I said, there's going to be a time where you are, there's going to be a time where you're like, I need to put kibbles in bowls. It happens to all of us. Even 6-figure writers are like, I don't have any work right now sometimes. And that just happens. It's just sometimes the ebb and flow. So if you need to take projects to put kibbles in bowls, do it. But there will be kind of like this, it may not always be 30 hours and maybe 25 or 35, but the average ends up being 30. So give yourself flexibility too when you're going through this. What do you think? Do you want some snacks? You want to do a pup date? If you go back to your huddle hole, I'll give you some snacks. You gotta go back to your huddle hole though. We're actually gonna trade out these snacks because we realized like how high calorie these snacks were. And Charlie was eating these like training treats that were like less than a calorie a treat, and like each one of these treats is like 20 calories. So we're trading those out, but so just as a little treat update. Can you give me a high five? Good girl. How about the other one? Good girl. You're so smart. You're so smart. You having a good day today? Can you catch? Good job. All right, let's talk about 3. So when we are getting down to 30 hours a week, we need smart systems and strategies, okay? If you are someone who has struggled with organization, you need to sort that shit out. It's really hard to do 6 figures in 30 hours a week if you're disorganized. It just becomes a poop soup and a mess really quickly. So I have a system, right? I've talked about this before. I have my dry erase calendar that is the whole year, right? It's organized by quarter, and it's over here. And it has all my big deadlines. So if I need to glance up and see like big picture, that's the dry erase board. I also have my monthly, like my Apple calendar that I look at, like what's happening over the month, what appointments do I have, what types of projects are going on. Then I look at my stuff weekly, right? So I have a weekly view every time I open my calendar, which is daily. And then I also have my stuff that I check the night before. So the night before, I know like today, Charlotte needs to go to the vet. Sorry, Charlotte. Yeah, you have to go to the vet. I don't know if you knew that, but you're going to the vet today. We have to get you some meds. Oh. So there's that, and there's a live stream and some other things. So I have this very detailed way of organizing my day-to-day life by looking at big picture, small picture, super zoomed into the daily, whatever. You have to have some kind of system. I don't care if it's the same system I have. I don't care if it's paper. I don't care if it's all digital. I don't care if it's Google Calendar or some magic other thing. You need to have a way to organize big picture view, medium zoomed in to monthly and weekly and daily. You need some system to do that. This is something that I think helps you get to 30 hours. Like you start realizing you're working less, and then you're like, oh, I'm at 30 hours. It's because you have these systems of organizing deadlines, organizing how your projects are laid out, organizing what's going on, understanding that your new clients are priority for the next month or whatever your next deadline is open. understanding how long it takes you to do stuff. And I'm not saying long, like everything is 3.5 hours, not like that. I'm saying like I need generally a 2-week period, I know, to get this done because I'm doing these 4 other things, right? So I look at it and I'm like, I know I don't need 2 whole weeks, 40, whatever that is, 80 hours to write an article. But I know based on these other projects I'm doing, right? I have my Wealth Lab students right now. I'm helping, like, Runway is available. So I'm helping Runway students when they email me with questions, or I'm doing my own work projects, right? I had a deadline this week. I'm sending my marketing. I'm doing all these other things, right? So we're looking at all of that stuff. You're just getting snacks. We're looking at all of that stuff over that 2-week period instead of saying, I know it takes me 3.5 hours to do something. That works for me. I know other people like to do it by the hours. So if you need to plan your week out hourly, where you're like, okay, these 3 hours are blocked to work on my case study, these 3 hours are for marketing, these 3 hours are to answer emails, these 3 hours are, like, if you need to do that, do it. But you need some kind of system and some kind of awareness of like where things need to be slotted in to get them done. The other thing too, when you're cutting down, you need some kind of like it CRM is customer relationship management tool, but you need some tool. Like I love Dubsado, I'm obsessed with it. But you can use Asana, you can use PandaDoc, you can use Moxie, you can use Harvest, you can use FreshBooks. There's like 1,000 of them. I don't care what it is. You need some tool to manage your projects, which means that when you have a project, it's clumped in an area. You don't search your inbox for 100 other things. All the invoices, all the contract, whatever else, notes, yada yada, all is in one clumpy place, one project space that you go to. Dubsado will collect all the emails too, so I have that. All of the appointments I've had are in there too with Dubsado. So if I go and look at a project for my client, everything is in one place. You also need a place to have scheduling, where I schedule all my appointments. Same thing, it's in Dubsado. I have a to-do list. I can go into Dubsado and see all my financials, what invoices have been paid, right? How much money have I made and how much are outstanding that haven't been paid. I can look at my financials in terms of a little graph it gives me of income versus expenses, so I can see how much money I'm actually making. I also have a space where I can collect all of my, hi Woo, all of my proposals, contracts, and invoices, right? So I can send everything from there. It's connected to Stripe so I can get paid. You need some kind of like management system for your business. You can't get to 30 hours at 6 figures by just piecemealing everything together. You need some kind of something. And like I said, I don't care what it is. I love Dubsado. If you want to check it out, you can do, I have like a coupon code. Oh, you know what? I have a thing. If you want to check out Dubsado, you can get 20% off your first year or month with code Mandy Ellis. Enter it at checkout. So I know that a lot of people really like that. So Dubsado, if you want to check it out, you can use coupon code Mandy Ellis for 20% off your first year or month. But the deal is that we have to have everything organized in one place, not just with our calendar, not just with our deadlines, not just with our management of like, my notes are here, my interviews are here, not just with the project itself, but overall structure in our business. The people that I know who work the least amount of hours and make the most money have that. They have like a tool where they have everything organized and they know where things are. They know how to, they know where their proposals are, where their contracts are, their invoices. They have all of their project stuff for each client organized. They have a place to schedule appointments. They have a to-do list. They can see their financials. They can send reminders, payment reminders if an invoice isn't paid. They have so many things at their fingertips that are just like available for organization, but also for automation. So that's something that's another step, is like I have tools that automate things. Someone who needs to work less hours or wants to work less hours and make more money, you need automation. You need something that will do it while you're asleep. So I have Boomerang, right? So like every time I need to follow up on an LOI or I need to follow up on something, I will just tell Boomerang to put it back on my inbox on a certain date. I don't have to manually deal with a spreadsheet. I don't have to do a lot of stuff. It just puts it back in my inbox. I know if it's in my inbox, I need to follow up. That's the end of that. Then there's also, you don't have to use Boomerang. You can use Vocus, Vocus.io. That's another one. Dubsado has a bunch of automation tools. So like if I want to follow up on an invoice that's not paid, I can automate that to send out emails for that. If I have a client who I need them to fill out a form or do something for content strategy, I have an automation for that. I can tell Dubsado to, hey, send proposal. If they accept proposal, or if they accept proposal contract and pay the upfront invoice, send them this form. Once they do that, send them this thing. And I don't have to be involved at all. So there's a lot of things that we need to look at in terms of automation in your business, because the automation takes out manual processes. In order to get down to 30 hours, you need to have ways to remove manual processes from your business. This is something I go over super heavy in the Wealth Lab and then also in Runway, but those are really important. Bruce says, how do you deal with an already full calendar or already quite full calendar, but you're also waiting on responses to project price proposals you've sent to new potential clients? What timelines can you promise? So this is what I was talking about before. If they haven't given you any money, all they're doing is orbiting. That's it. They don't exist in your schedule. So if I already have a full calendar, everybody else is not a priority. If I already am doing this, every potential client is like a nice thing. To me, I always think about it as like a bonus. Hey, I have a new client. I'm already super busy. I have this new client. That new client then takes, right? They take secondary priority. So that means whenever they get back to you, you slot them in at the appropriate time. So let's say, and this can take months. Sometimes you send a proposal and they don't deal with it till January. Right now, a lot of people are pushing things off till January. They're just orbiting. That's why I like to think of them as orbiting. If you don't have cash money in your bank account where they're like, yes, we want to work with you. We've signed the contract. We're down. They just get to orbit. So if my schedule is already full, then I slot them in at the next available thing. So let's say my schedule is full for the next 2 months and someone signs a proposal. One, I should have already let them know that on the call. So if I'm on a call with someone, I already let them know my next available deadline is this. Does that work for you? So there's no surprising things after the proposal. Like that, nothing is a surprise to my clients because I'm upfront and I'm very intentional about letting them know how things are working right now in my business, about deadlines or what I can put them in on, or like how many meetings we can have or whatever. So when you're doing this, you should have already told them on the call, hey, my next available deadline is December 15th. Does that work for you? Then by the time they sign the proposal or do whatever they're going to do, if December 15th is too close, you can say, hey, since, since we've just gotten everything handled, my now new available deadline is this, right? So the waiting part, we're not waiting. Just move on with your life. So you can follow up. Don't wait on someone. You're following up. So like if you sent new project proposals, right? And they haven't gotten back to you, you're going to follow up with them, right? And then otherwise they don't exist. They don't exist until they give you money. The money is the set in stone, like, yes, put me in your calendar. So when someone pays that invoice, they're like, yes, put me in stone, put me in your calendar. Then you give them an updated schedule. You can also preempt that too. So I know I have another freelance friend who will do this, and I do it sometimes where you're like, hey, I want to let you know that my deadlines are on a rolling schedule. So if you're able to sign the contract and get me the upfront payment by December 7th, I can get you this stuff by December blah, blah, blah. So when December 7th comes and goes and they don't do it, they've voided their deadline date. And those deadline dates are not something where like they get to wait to the last minute and you turn it in. That's not how it works. You and your clients are equals. So you have equal say in where those deadlines are, how to put them in your schedule, all that stuff. So I don't promise anything. I don't promise timelines. I say, if you do X, Y, Z, then we can do this. If they don't do X, Y, Z, then they can't fit in there. If I do say that, I will put it in my calendar. Hey, this is a deadline. So if I tell a client, hey, if you sign the contract and provide the upfront payment by December 7th, I will get you this thing by December 20th. I will put the December 20th thing in my calendar so I already know that's a potential deadline. I'll put it in my to-do list. And then once their thing comes and goes and they miss it, which is very common, I just take it out. I'm just like, okay, you missed your deadline date. So we're not at the mercy of our clients. That's the thing that a lot of times I get stuff where it's like, how do I convince my client to do this? Or what can I promise to them? Or like, oh my God, we're not at the mercy of our clients. This is something that six-figure writers like my friends and myself, we're just like, oh wow, like your next available date is this. Does that work for you? Like you're in a place of like, this is how it is to work with me. You're in a place of like, my schedule is rolling. I have priority clients. I have things that are going on. You are a new client. You get to come in when the space is available. So the project proposal part, we're not waiting, Bruce. You should be continuing to market. You should be sending those LOIs. You should be working on your stuff. Even if you have a full calendar, I don't care if it's 5 LOIs. You got to send something to plant those seeds. And everybody else, like I said, you're following up on proposals, but if they don't give you any money, they're just orbiting. They don't get to take up calendar space, brain space, anxiety space, anything. They just orbit. And then the other thing is that the timeline is based on whenever they get their shit together, which can take forever. Like I've had people who can take like 6 months or more to sign something. Sometimes they sign it and give me the money the same day. And sometimes it takes them forever. So we're not in the business of giving them a set in stone deadline if they don't follow the rules, right? The rule is you need to do X by this date. Then the deadline is this. That's the rule. If you do XYZ by this date, then the deadline is this. If you don't, it's going to change. That's it. That's it. And the other thing too is that you need to respect your own time off. You can't just be like, oh my gosh, I need this project, blah, blah, blah. Like, you can't just be all anxiety ridden. Yes, if you need to put kibbles and bowls, do it. Take the thing, work the holiday, whatever. But most of the time, freelance writers are like, I'm burned out and I don't know why, but they keep accepting these things and slotting people in as fast as possible because they think that by having a fast deadline schedule, like that's the thing. It's not the thing. That's like the thing that red light clients like, is like that you'll just sacrifice all your time off, all your rest time, all your vacations, all your whatever to just get the thing done. Green light clients understand that you're a human being and not a robot, and that you need time off, and that you may not be able to get it done by X date. So it's communicating with your clients, it's setting expectations with your clients, it's being open from the very beginning of a call with them, and it's also about the orbiting, right? They're not taking up space. So does that help? Does that kind of put it in perspective a little bit? It's not coming from a place of like that you are like at the mercy of your clients, basically. Like you two are equals. You say, does this work for you? Does this work for you? Like it has to work for you too. It has to be like a seesaw, right? Last thing I want to say here with smart systems and strategies, right? We talked about automation. We talked about having some kind of customer relationship management tool. I don't care what it is, just the tool, just to get a tool to manage a big picture view of your business. The last thing, can you go back to your hobbit hole? Thank you. All the way, all the way, all the way. Go all the way to the hobbit hole. Okay. The last thing too, when we're doing smart systems and strategies, I think when you're kind of cutting your hours, well, don't go under there. When you're cutting your hours and you're trying to get to 6 figures, I think it's a matter of thinking of it as like a patient Tetris puzzle. A lot of times people are very intrigued by the money and they're very intrigued by the time. Oh my gosh, 30 hours and I make a ton of money. That doesn't erase all of your other stuff. So I can tell you, as someone who has dealt with a lot of burnout and mindset issues and self-doubt and self-hatred and imposter syndrome and all the stuff, right? I can tell you that hitting a magic amount of money or hitting the number of hours, it doesn't get rid of that. It doesn't do any of that. So you still have mindset issues where you're like, you still have imposter syndrome. You can still have a lot of self-hate and self-doubt. The money, the hours, the clients, the projects don't get rid of that. So instead of being like, once I do this, I'll be happy. Once I hit 6 figures, I'll be happy. Or once I do that, like hit 30 hours, that does not work. You are dragging all of that stuff with you. So what you should think about it as is a patient Tetris puzzle. Every time you kind of switch out a client, you need to deal with like, what's going on? Am I feeling imposter syndrome? Am I feeling stressed? Am I feeling anxious? How can I deal with that? Because that makes it a lot easier for you to move up and build confidence and get to better clients and make more money and work less hours. That slow Tetris of like moving clients in and out, sloughing clients off, and being patient about the process instead of it being like, oh my God, I got to make 6, like all that. Hi, Lou. I hear you. I hear you. Instead of all that, that really makes a difference. That makes a huge difference to you hitting 6 figures and it being sustainable and not crazy. There's a lot of people who hit 6 figures as freelance writers who work low amounts of hours who quit because it's just, it doesn't work, right? You have to deal with it as you go along. So as you get a new client, as you're sloughing clients off, as you're building confidence, you have to kind of put wins in you, right? So that means every time you get a win, you need to celebrate. If you just skip over to the next goalpost, by the time you get to 6 figures, you will feel empty inside. You won't feel like you achieved anything. So even if you hit 30 hours, even if you're working 5 hours and you're making a ton of money, which would never happen, but if it did by magic, that wouldn't make you feel better. It wouldn't make you feel accomplished. A lot of times there's this idea that like, if I do X, I will feel XYZ. And what I've seen is just like this idea of Tetris patience. The people who are moving the puzzle, who are understanding there's like a set number of pieces and you're putting these things in and you're taking these things out, and then you're putting this one doesn't quite fit, so you take it out. And then you're also dealing with the baggage that you're carrying, right? And a lot of writers deal with that, right? They deal with imposter syndrome, self-doubt, self-hate, thinking that their work isn't very good, worrying that they're like beneath their clients and they have to do everything their clients tell them to do. Or they're thinking, I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I have fewer deadlines. I'll be happy when I hit this amount of money. I'll be happy when, and they're not. They're not. They hit that amount of money and they're like, oh boy, instead of 90,000, I should have hit 6 figures. Or instead of 101,000, I should have hit 112 or some crazy thing. And I'm telling you, like, the Tetris pieces of getting to 6 figures and cutting your schedule down to 30 hours, that's the goal. But you also have to deal with, in that goal, your mindset stuff, your confidence stuff, your ability to feel strong in your business, instead of being like, oh my God, what do I do if like a client tells me to do something? Like, nothing. We're not here to jump when our clients say jump. We're not here to slot someone in immediately just because they paid for a project. Like, think about it this way. That's what they're supposed to do. Your clients are supposed to pay the invoice. They're supposed to sign the contract. That isn't like, oh my God, they did it, I need to do something now. No, that's what they're supposed to do. That's normal. We don't need to jump and do immediate stuff. That's normal. They're supposed to do that. We shouldn't be thinking of that as like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, that's normal. That's normal. It should be that way. So there's a lot of stuff where I found people really don't normalize things, and they're like, oh, well, once the client does this, I have to blah, blah, blah. And I do agree. Yes, we are 100% in a service-based business. We need to add value, but we also need to be realistic and have a sustainable business and feel confident in our business and understand that, like, just because a client says something, you don't have to jump. And that the good clients won't ask you to do that. Good clients won't ask you to like, hey, do it now. Like that I paid you. You need to do it. Like, that's not how it works, right? Okay, Marie says some weeks are long and some weeks are short, and it's not a pay that you see exactly at the end of every week. You really helped me understand not to jam my schedule. Yeah. Oh, and you said enjoy sustainable and a variable flow. Yeah. The other thing too is with the Tetris thing is it's an ebb and a flow. You have an ebb and flow in your business. No, there is no freelancer. Okay. There are no freelance writers. There's no freelancer that is constantly slammed with huge piles of work for their entire career. That does not exist. Yes, people will get to a place after a long period of time where they have a bunch of work coming in, but that doesn't mean that work is always in the direction that they want to go in. It doesn't mean that is like they're living their perfect life. Like there is always a lull. Everybody that I know, like I had a coaching student that I had who had referrals for like 15 years or 20 years, like some crazy time. Her whole business was referrals, and then it just stopped, right? Like there was a time where there was a big long lull. I've known other 6-figure freelancers where like they go through several months where they have no projects. I've done that too. I've gone through many months where I have no projects sometimes because like either I'm prioritizing something else or I'm working on current projects. There's nothing new coming in. And there's always a lull. There is always a lull. It is the idea of being a freelancer where you're just stuffed with work and like every minute of your day. Being stuffed with work doesn't mean you are on the hamster wheel. Being stuffed with work means you're making money in a reasonable, organized way. It means that you have your schedule planned out 3 to 6 months. It means that you are planning ahead, okay? So we don't want to be on this hamster wheel of just like, I hit this number and I'm working these hours. Like, that's not the goal. The goal is that we have an organized way that we're doing it in a reasonable, sustainable way that makes sense. We're not kind of running around trying to stuff our schedule with everything just to do stuff. Like that doesn't make any sense. And I want to be open and honest about that, where there is a perception for freelance writers that like the goal is to just be busy all the time. That's not the goal. And nobody is. Nobody is 100% busy all of the time in their business. Every freelancer I've ever met, thousands of them, that everybody has a lull in their business. I don't care if that lull is a month or a few years or whatever. Everybody has a lull. There is an ebb and flow. And part of understanding your freelance writing business, hitting six figures, cutting your hours to 30, is that there will be an ebb and flow. That's how business works. There's ebbs and flows and ebbs and flows. It's a natural part of the business. And freelancing will definitely teach you resilience and also how to deal with more uncertainty, right? It won't just like, it's not just a smooth sailing ride. It's very much like this, the ocean does what it does and you do the best you can. Every day you take a step forward in your business. But, you know, it's what you remember that quote that says like a smooth sea doesn't make for a skillful sailor or something. It's kind of like that. The sea will do what it's going to do, but just because the sea is easy doesn't mean it's, you know, it's a good ride or like there's not going to be a storm or whatever. I know that's not exactly what that quote is, but the deal is that you have to think about it. You have to think about it in terms of everybody has an ebb and flow in their business. You need to like work the Tetris board. You need to understand the ebb and flow, and you need to do the best you can with organizing your stuff, right? You need to look at who do I need to cut out? Who do I need to go to? What are the projects? What are the clients? And then cutting your hours down to 30. Okay. All right. Woo, do you want to do one more pup date? Because you want snacks? You're over here making, stamping your feet and being a sass? All right. Why don't you go over there and we'll go do a pup date. And we have Bo's support duck is making an appearance today. So it's down there. All right, go back to your hobbit hole. Thank you. All the way to your hobbit hole. Oh my gosh. Go back to your hobbit hole, you floof. I know, we need to wash that blanket. You've like got drool all over it. Give me a high five. Good girl. Good job. You're a cutie bean. So I hope that this has been helpful. I hope that if you feel like it has been helpful, give it a thumbs up. If you want to learn more about building a smart freelance writing schedule or a smart freelance writing business or something where you are booked most of the time in your ebb and flow period, subscribe. We go through a lot of these things in, like I said, the Wealth Lab is going through the fall class right now, and it'll open back up in April 2024. But a lot of this stuff is covered too in Runway. So Runway is my 5-day fast track class. I'm going over a different theme every day of those 5 days. You get a bunch of templates and examples, and you get exactly like this detailed steps of how to do stuff to ramp up your business. Especially if you're someone who's kind of stuck at a certain income level, or you're having trouble identifying your ideal clients, or you're having trouble doing a bunch of things where you troubleshoot your like the weird little quirks that come up in your business, or you're like, I need to do X, but I don't know how, or I need a system or a process. Runway is for you. All of my systems, processes, like my templates, I'm putting them in Runway, and you get them over a 5-day period so you can implement them quickly in your business to help you find better clients, raise your income, build a better schedule so you can have more schedule freedom, right? We're here 30 hours, so have less hours. If you want to check it out, go to mandyellis.com/runway. And then Vicky says, this helps my attitude. Good. I think that that's part of it is like the rush, like you think of a patient Tetris puzzle. That's what this is. This is not a process that happens overnight. There are a lot of different pieces that move into not only hitting 6 figures, but then cutting down your hours. And there's a lot of self-discovery in this process. Like we have to let go of some of our baggage in order to get to the next level. We can't just keep taking the baggage and being like, why is everything so heavy and difficult? And oh my God, we can't do that. And I've had to go through a lot of difficult things like, becoming more direct or becoming more confident. Or when I first started out, I used to ask Tommy, my partner, all the time to help me with emails. Like I couldn't write emails. I was like, I don't know what to say. Like, what do I do? Now he comes to me and asks me for help with writing emails, right? So there's a lot of things that you learn just by having to get over those roadblocks in your business. There are things that really change how you interact with your clients, how you view your clients, how you view the relationship as a partnership versus like you doing stuff for your clients. And I feel like too, you have to understand that everybody has ebb and flow. Everybody has different priorities. Everybody's business is different. Build your own business, focus on your own priorities, solve your own Tetris puzzle. But remember, it's not overnight. Make sure you're giving it some patience and making smart choices. All right. I need the constant reminder. Yes, Marie. So I hope this has been helpful. We do a live stream every Friday, and by we I mean Charlie. She's down here. We do a live stream every Friday at noon Central Time. Oh, we're not doing a live stream next Friday because it's going to be holiday time. So we're not doing a live stream next Friday, but I am going to release a new video on Monday. So I'm trying out a new format. So I hope that you check out that video on Monday. I'm trying a new format. Let me know what it goes. And if you're someone who's a six-figure writer or reaching six figures, do you have any questions about this? Is there anything that pops up where you're like, I don't understand that? Or when I was, when I'm trying to grow my business, I'm stuck against these things? Pop them in the comments. Let me know. I know, Woo, I hear you. So I hope everybody has a good holiday time, or that you at least get some rest time off, or that you get to spend some time with family, no matter how you celebrate or you don't celebrate. But I hope you get some time off, or you get to kind of get some rest days. And I hope everybody has a good rest of their Thursday, Friday. Bye.